Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm Frederick County Executive Jan Gardner, and joining me today is Principal Planner John Demetrio, who's been working on something very important called Livable Frederick. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm happy to have you here. You've been one of the key players working on Livable Frederick with a large group of people. So if you had to sum up what Livable Frederick is, how would you describe it?
Well, I guess in the most basic sense, Livable Frederick is currently a master plan document, and it is a component of what we hope will be Livable Frederick comprehensive planning in the future, which the idea is to have future planning efforts at a number of different scales, focusing on a number of different issues that will all kind of stem from and build on the policies and the goals identified in the Livable Frederick master plan document. And the document itself doesn't kind of end at defining the aspirations and the goals. It also has a very kind of analytical and quantitative process that we use to test a lot of these possibilities for the future, which took the form of the scenario planning process, which was brought to us by our consultant, Renaissance Planning. So through the scenario planning process, we were able to really kind of look at a number of different options, see how they supported the community vision and the community aspirations, and then sort of analyze some of the outcomes of the different options to see which course for the future would be best to pursue.
Okay, well, Livable Frederick has been out there for a couple of years. I kicked it off with the steering committee, and I know staff has had over 100 people engaged in the drafting of Livable Frederick. But it is our comprehensive plan for the county, and we've had a comprehensive plan since the 1950s, but it's very different. We spent about a year doing the community vision. Where do we want the county to be? What will it look like in 25 years or beyond? And that took about a year with thousands of people participating in creating that vision for the future of Frederick County. Right. And then we did the scenario planning, which was, again, very different. Very different to have the technology and the ability to say, if we make these choices, what happens to our future? If we make a different set of choices, what happens? And then to be able to merge the best of those choices about how we grow and how we plan for our future. Right. It's hard to know for sure who's going to live here in 25 years, how people are going to want to live and work and recreate, but that's really the goal. Right. So now that we've had this plan drafted and it's been through the Planning Commission, at least for the initial review, we do want to go out and engage the public. So can you talk a little bit about how that's going to happen?
Yeah, we are planning to have 5 different open houses throughout the county, one located in each council district in the county, and to take place at high schools within each one of those districts. They're all going to be evening meetings taking place near the end of January and throughout the beginning and mid of February. And at these meetings, the public, anyone, is invited to come and attend to speak with planning staff, to speak with elected officials or appointees on commissions, especially the Planning Commission, to really learn more about what the plan is. It is a very different approach to what we've done in the past. And it really does kind of focus on our long-term goals and how we can achieve those goals relative to what we see the future becoming. And so it might take a bit of time to kind of figure out what's going on, but our staff is there ready and willing to explain, and they can get that information and comment. They can provide us with feedback, and all of that feedback will get compiled and summarized, and it will be forwarded to the County Planning Commission for their review. So the plan document itself right now is officially a draft document. Right. It's going through the Planning Commission process, and it's currently in what's called the 60-day review period, where we kind of go through and get input from jurisdictions and from community members. And at the end of this process, the Planning Commission will have a public hearing where they will kind of discuss the comments they received. The public can come and provide comments at the hearing. And then at some point after that public hearing, the Planning Commission will integrate all of that, come up with a final recommended Livable Frederick master plan that will be forwarded to the County Council, which will go through its own process.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's a great explanation. But the open houses will be casual, where people can come up and talk individually and have some dialogue with staff to try to understand really that larger planning goal. In the past, we've done a lot of our land use planning by looking at parcels and actual zoning.
Yep.
And this is different than that. This is really looking at themes and looking at, a higher scale level of where do we want to concentrate growth? How do we want to grow?
Right.
Where do we want to grow? And what assets should we leverage? Because we know people want to protect our agricultural heritage, our cultural and community assets. People love our history in Frederick County. But, we want to leverage our transportation assets and really who's going to be living here. And we think based on demographic trends that we're going to have more seniors.
Right.
And hopefully more young people to fill those jobs of the retiring seniors.
Right.
And that people want to live a little bit more urban, a little bit more walkable communities. So I think it's really a very interesting process for people to understand that 4 scenarios were looked at: doing things as usual,
Right.
Urban center building, transportation corridor focused, and then really merging it together to be maybe the best of all of those.
Yep.
And so, we've had a lot of suburban development over the last few decades, and that may not be what people want in the future. And that's really what we're out to find out from people.
And I would add to that the suburban development, there's kind of a lot of that sort of in the hopper as well. So now it's kind of a really good opportunity to start to explore some of these other options to provide supplemental housing types of environments that could attract sort of the dynamic jobs of the future. It's really a chance to start to set that up for the future, because if there is sort of a background demand for more single family, that can be accommodated in parallel to trying to shift our strategy a bit.
Okay, very good. So I really think it's important to encourage the public to come out and participate. It's the opportunity for people to come out and really shape the future of the county.
Right.
Growth has sometimes been a real hot topic, political, hot potato, and this really is intended to take the level of that discussion a little higher.
Yep.
And really talk about visioning and long-term decisions that will really frame how this happens in the future, so we can preserve the things we love and enjoy and appreciate about Frederick County, and make sure that we also still have a vibrant, thriving economy and places for people to live.
That's right.
So, I appreciate your hard work on that. If people want more information about the details of the plan, where can they go to get that?
So there's a county website, www.livablefrederick.org, and they can surf the website or go through the different web pages to kind of get an overview of the plan, an explanatory kind of overview of the plan. And they can also download the draft plan document itself. On the front page, there's a link that allows you to download a PDF file of the draft plan document.
Okay. I do want to take an opportunity to recognize and appreciate the over 100 people who worked on the drafting of the plan. It was not just the creating of the vision
Right.
and the vision statements, which I think was a great process, but also there were committees that wrote each of the chapters of the plan or provided input into the drafting of those plans. And there's some really new elements there as well,
Right.
like incorporating health and
That's a big one.
into the whole discussion of land use.
Right.
Because obviously if we have a walkable community, that can add to people's healthy living. Lots of incorporation of some different areas that have really never been considered before, but are really important to our quality of life.
Right. Yeah, I would say, this plan, unlike plans from the past, was largely written by, hundreds of people in the community. And I mean that literally. It's not just something that planning staff kind of generated and then sort of sent out to be reviewed. So it really is a plan that came from the community, and I think expresses really what the community wants in terms of its future as we grow.
Yep. So I do think I think it's a very readable plan. I think the vision is very well presented and very understandable to people. And I do think there's community consensus about it. Then there's the development framework with these thematic plans. I think that is very different, so different that I think people do need an explanation of it, which they can hear at this open house. And then there's action plans, which is the real implementation of this plan over time. So after the plan is adopted, how will it be implemented just in general terms?
So we're planning on starting a number of different planning initiatives that kind of stem from this master plan document. One of those will take the form of these small area plans or focused planning areas where the community, planning staff, and elected officials can focus on specific physical interventions, specific different types of land use. A lot of those may occur in the vicinity of existing or potential future transit stations. And then there are other types of planning that we can do which focus on functional categories. For example, transportation countywide. There's a lot of need to produce a green infrastructure plan and an agricultural infrastructure plan to really focus on the needs of those two very important elements of our county. And you know, there's definitely a planning that can occur as all the municipalities in our county start to initiate their plans, and we can kind of initiate a planning process at the county level to help provide some correspondence and some communication between the county and municipalities as planning occurs.
Well, thank you for joining me today and for providing this opportunity to share a little bit with the public about Livable Frederick. I do want to encourage our viewing audience to go to livablefrederick.org for more information about the Livable Frederick plan and to come out to one of the open houses over the next several weeks so that you can understand how this is a very different approach and how we're really trying to take big, lofty goals and plan around these objectives so that we can make sure that we preserve what we love about Frederick County while making sure that we have a place and choices for people to live and a thriving economy. So thank you for joining us. It's your opportunity to get involved.